Alright, so let's talk about 10 differences between the Canon EOS R5 and the EOS R. So let's get started. Okay, so a lot of people ask me about the differences between the EOS R5 and the EOS R, so I thought, okay, let's make a video about the most important differences you should know about before buying. And yeah, the first difference between both cameras is one of the most important aspects, the sensor. The Canon EOS R has a 30.3 megapixel sensor, while the EOS R5 uses a brand new 45 megapixel sensor. So for example, if you're a photographer and you do some work that is for print, this might be something that you should think about. The second aspect we need to talk about is the IBIS, so the in-body stabilization. And the Canon EOS R doesn't have IBIS. You can only activate the lens IS and the digital IS, but in this case the field of view crops a little bit in. And that's because the camera needs to create some room for the stabilization. But the EOS R5 finally have IBIS, and I need to say that it is awesome that it's now possible to use this feature. So especially if you need to use slow shutter speed options or if you record videos handheld, the IBIS is the way to go. And now we need to talk about another difference between the EOS R5 and the EOS R, and here it's all about the autofocus. Of course, both cameras use a dual pixel AF from Canon, but the R5 got the newest version and it covers 100% of the frame. And here on top the R5 uses a deep learning technology and it can track the body, face or eye better even if you take photos of animals like cats, dogs or birds. So especially if you need a top-notch autofocus, the R5 is the way to go. And since we are talking about taking pictures, there's another difference we need to talk about, and that is a continuous shooting mode. And the EOS R can take pictures up to 8 frames per second, so especially if you need to be really fast, that might be a big downside. But the EOS R5 can take up to 12 frames per second with the mechanical shutter and up to 20 frames per second with the electronic shutter. So exactly, there is a huge difference between the EOS R and the R5, and here's what I mean.
And just to show you something, what we can do this here. Let's switch to, where is it? The high-speed continuous mode. And now let's see. Let's give the focus. So, if you need to be fast, this one is the way to go.
Next, let's talk about the video features of both cameras. And the Canon EOS R can record in 4K up to 30 FPS and in 1080p up to 60 FPS. If you record in 4K, there's a crop, so especially if you're a vlogger, for example, you need a wide lens or you have to use a 1080p video files. But the EOS R5 doesn't have a crop at all, and it can record up to 8K 30 FPS, 4K up to 120 FPS and 1080 up to 60 FPS. But just to mention it here, if you want to record in 8K, you need to care about some possible overheating issues, so definitely think about that before buying the R5. But both cameras can record in C-Log, which is fantastic if you want to do some color correction. But just to mention it here, the EOS R record 8-bit internal and 10-bit external, while the R5 can do that internal too, and it goes up to 8K 12-bit RAW. So yeah, that's definitely a big improvement. But now let's talk about the next aspect, and here we need to talk about the viewfinder. And here the EOS R5 has an EVF with a better resolution of 5.76 million dots, while the EOS R uses 3.69 million dots. So especially if you use the EVF a lot, this might be something you need to care about. So now we need to talk about the overall design of both cameras, and yeah, of course both designs are really similar, but Canon made some improvements of the R5. While the EOS R has a touch bar on the backside, a smaller LCD screen and a pad for the menu, the EOS R5 has a joystick, a rear wheel, some improved buttons to make it easier to use them, and they switched a few positions. For example, the zoom button is now right here, and they have switched the microphone input to the top so it's easier to use the flip out screen. So yeah, in my opinion, the overall design of the EOS R5 is way better than the EOS R, but the EOS R is still okay. And the next difference between the EOS R and the R5 is the card slot. If you buy the EOS R, you can only put one SD card into this camera. For a lot of people that was a huge downside, but I need to say that I didn't have any problems at all over the last year. But of course I totally understand that the current standard is just a dual SD card slot. And yeah, the Canon EOS R5 has a dual card slot, but here it's not a dual SD card slot, it's a dual card slot. You can use one SD card and one CF Express card, and you need that if you want to record in 4K 120 FPS or 8K stuff. So definitely keep that in mind because CF Express cards aren't that cheap. And the next aspect we need to talk about is the adapter. If you buy the EOS R, you will get an adapter that can be used to use your old EF lenses like a 70-200 2.8 IS2 with the new RF mount. But if you buy the EOS R, then there isn't an adapter included in the box. So if you want to use your EF glass, you have to buy this adapter. And yeah, I have absolutely no idea why they didn't include that in the box, but that's what we have to deal with here. But currently, at least here in Germany, there's a cashback thing going on that includes includes a free adapter if you buy a R5 or R6. So maybe check your local Canon cashback site if there's anything like that in your region, so you don't have to buy this adapter. And yeah, I can absolutely recommend this adapter. And yeah, last but not least, we need to talk about the price of both cameras. The Canon EOS R costs around $1,800 new, and the R5 launched at $3,900. So yeah, that's a lot of money, and that's why you need to be really sure which camera is the one that you want to buy. So actually think about what you want to do and what you actually need before you waste a lot of money for a camera that won't help you to do the stuff that you want to do. So yeah, in my opinion, these are 10 important differences between the Canon EOS R and the EOS R5. But what do you think about both cameras? Let me know that in the comments. Thank you for watching, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you're new here, don't forget to smash the subscribe button to stay updated for our upcoming videos, and I'll see you in the next video.